Okay, welcome. I want to talk about healthcare in America, particularly in America, obviously. And we have a lot to talk about. We can actually talk to you about personal America, obviously. And we have a lot to talk about. We can actually talk to you about personal experiences. I want you to share your personal experiences with me so I can read them out loud. And I want you, if you see this on YouTube, I want you to share your personal experience or experience you heard about on the comment section in YouTube. I want the dialogue to be specifically connected to the spiritual journey of ascension. And let me preface this by saying that fear is a no-go in ascension. Okay, let me repeat that. Fear is a no-go in ascension. So if you're afraid to lose your job because you're pregnant and you need the health insurance, that sets up a whole system of fuckery. If you're afraid to get sick because you don't have health insurance, that creates a whole system of self-oppression from the ascension path you're working so hard to be on. So when I talk to you about medical insurance, when I talk to you about the fuckery of the medical system, and the fact that we don't have a socialized system, and unless you are earning $100 million a year, sit the fuck down, because you need socialized medicine. Okay, you need it, and you have been indoctrinated with fear to keep you a good little boy or girl to the agenda of the 1%, in particular in this country. Okay, and so this is going to be very important for you to understand that every single aspect of the infrastructure controlled by the 1% impacts your ascension unless you're going out with your knapsack, right? Your backpack, your water canteen, your water purifier, you're going off grid, you're not dealing with shit, you're self-sufficient, and however long you thrive is you're okay with that. Unless you're that person, this life is for you. Okay? So I'm going to invite my son, Baron, and I want him to talk about what he found out, which is a real... anyway, go ahead, my love. Go ahead.
Hi, hello. Thank you, everybody, for having me on. It's just, what I'd like to talk about today is how a man basically had health insurance and was paying for a premium, did the whole thing, paid for the premium, paid for the PPO, had the best insurance, paid the most. And again, it trumps the narrative of supposedly paying the most and getting actually better service, when in fact it does no different, probably even worse service. And he's a lung cancer, he needs a lung transplant because he has lung cancer from what they've been spraying and stuff like that, and toxic fumes. And it's just, his insurance said, okay, we're going to pay for it, because again, he had the protection, he had the best insurance. And come to find out, as soon as his family was getting him ready to send him to Northwestern Hospital, his insurance denies him. He's literally sitting on a ventilator right now, and he's asphyxiating on his own oxygen. And it feels, and I've heard and seen it described with people who have, lung disorders, and it feels like they're breathing in fire. That's what it feels like. And every time they take a breath of air, it feels like asphyxiation. They can't fully take a breath of air. It hurts to even just live or breathe and even talk. And the fact that so many people have basically, because some people are like, oh, my health insurance works great. Well, that's the thing. You've never used it. And I mean when you're sick. I'm not talking about like when you have an infection or, you're in and out of the hospital. I'm talking about, do you have cancer? Do you have a disease? Do you have some sort of rare genotype disorder and where you need a medication that literally there's only one existence of in the United States of America and costs an insane price of like $36,000 a month or something insane like that.
Right. No, like Cobra. I remember when I had Cobra, one of my last jobs, I think my son was 3 years old, and the Cobra was something like, I'm not joking, $950 a month, and that was in the early 2000s. Now, if the Cobra is $950 a month, and you're making between $4,000 to $5,000, and that's if you're lucky, making in those days making $4,000 to $5,000 a month, you can see the problem. Okay, when your rent is less than your Cobra, that is a problem. I know that the father of my son died of a heart attack due to diabetes that he was aware he had, but he did not have the money to go see a proper doctor. He did not have Medi-Cal or Medicare because he made, I don't know, maybe like $1,000 more a year than he should have, so he didn't qualify. Just in case you people, some of you people out there are going, well, what about this and what about, no, it wasn't there, okay? You've got working class people living in their cars, and they still can't make it happen, okay? So it was a domino effect. And the sword over people's head, working class people's head, what is the sword? The sword is, well, if I have a heart attack, can I really afford an ambulance? Which is what what his father was thinking when he died. In other words, as you know, every minute on a stroke or a heart attack, every second counts. You're either going to make it or you're not. So he didn't call for an emergency team to come and to stabilize him. He didn't call because he wanted to make it on his own. He didn't want that bill, the sword over his head, on his FICO score or whatever. Do you understand? Because what happens when you have this shit on your FICO score? You've got judgmental assholes who will not rent to you. And some of them will go so far as denying you employment. Yeah. Because they think you're not sensible with your money. Well, money is having a credit card debt at Nordstrom and not paying it, or going to Macy's and losing your shit in a department store credit card or a Visa card, buying whatever the fuck you want. We're talking about healthcare, folks. And so right now we have a woman, an African American woman, who is brain dead in Alabama. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why am I not shocked? It's in Alabama, by the way, but that's, and she is now a glorified vessel, incubator for a fetus that may have massive neurological problems, because when you're brain dead, I don't even know where these people get their medical license, honestly. I'm in shock. I'm in absolute shock. When you're brain dead, you can't send the signals, hormonal signals, all of the systems of nutrition that a fetus needs to grow to be a healthy baby are not being sent because, oh, shock, it's brain fucking dead. So unless you had the fetus in a system, in a vessel, right? In an incubator, right? Where they could actually pump it with the appropriate hormones, being gestation and so forth, the kid would have a fighting chance. But the kid is not a kid. The kid is a fetus. And when they found out she was pregnant, I believe she was, what was she? I think she was 9 weeks in, and it's going against her family. It's going against this family. So what are they going to do if they actually give birth or they somehow do a C-section? Are they going to hand this finished product to this family who said, we don't want her to go through that? Please let us let us have our daughter back so we can do the proper ceremonies of letting her go. Meanwhile, she has an 8-year-old son going to visit her who thinks his mommy is asleep. African American family. The racism in the medical industry is well fucking documented. I have a friend, I won't mention her name, who is in the part of Europe who actually sees systematic racism even in her country. And it's high time we as Americans honor what African Americans are telling us about their experiences and what's happening. I feel as if right now the 1% is frightened. They're frightened, very similar to what was it? The Tale of Two Cities. The beginning of the Tale of Two Cities. The French Revolution. It was mothers that started it. Do you guys know that? Mothers. Do you know why? Because they were starving their babies. Because they were running their carriages or running over the babies, running out into the street and saying, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? This little beast, this little peasant child, doesn't matter to my needs in this moment. The aristocracy, aka the 1%, were brutal and savage to the populace. They always have been. So this concept of fear that we have allowed ourselves to tolerate through the centuries has got to go. If you're serious about oppression, if you're serious about ascension, if you're serious about, then you have to look at all of the aspects of infrastructure and deconstruct it to see how did that fuck my parents' marriage. Well, you think you can have a wonderful marriage if you're thinking about the bills and FICO scores and mortgages and taxes and medical care and education and tutoring? It's no wonder people aren't having kids. Smart people are not having kids. Very smart people are not having kids because they know what it takes. And the only thing that's going to make us thrive and literally unplug from the infrastructure is for us to literally unplug and create our own communities that are free from these headaches, where we use the system of law to our own benefit as communities. That means that we have to trust the frequency vibration that attracts us to each other. And there's going to be a point where you have to just trust that everyone's on the same page, or excavate to see who isn't. And you'll have those red flags. You'll know that someone might be smiling in your face, but they're not a fit. And you don't have to suffer through, well, why aren't they a fit? Just fucking keep moving and bring in people who are fit with ease, people that flow with you and you flow with them. It's that simple. Did you want to say anything on?
Yeah, what I basically wanted to say was, a lot of times we'll see the selfishness within some people basically being like, oh, I'm against universal health care, or just saying I'm not paying for you and everything. I'm like, okay, I hope you keep that same energy and mentality 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line when you need a kidney or a liver. I mean, it's just
yeah. I mean, this is what's happening right now. The fact that there's a dark web for organ transplant, the fact that a lot of people are removing themselves from the donor list, right? A lot of us have removed ourselves. We're not playing this game because the problem is, it's interesting how I've heard of people who were told that their son or daughter were brain dead and they refused to unplug their child. And literally a week or two later, the kid wakes up. Their adult child wakes up. Okay. But this woman clearly is brain dead. And that means that literally everything's going to start shutting down, and they're keeping because of a fetus. But see, here comes the deviancy of the system that has oppressed a woman to choose with her body what she wants to do, right? Even letting her parents become her proxy, her voice, when she's incapable of actually advocating for herself. To the point, and my question, and I'm sorry, you guys need to really ask it, is this because they're African American? I mean, this is a real question. Would they do that if it was a different race of people? Would it be allowed? And this is something that we as Americans need to get serious. It's kind of like allowing the perpetrator, the narcissistic perpetrator, gaslighting a human being. When people tell you, you're pinching me, it hurts, you should believe them. Not go into this arrogance and entitlement saying that, oh, well, you're being a victim and you're always complaining. No, when people want to be heard, when a child, no, I'm going to go back. When a grown woman goes back to her mother to say, Uncle Billy hurt me, and you know what I mean when I say that, okay, essayed me, okay, from the age of 3 to 10, and that mother denies it to her grave. It's not that this young woman is in need of validation from her mother to survive. It's that she wants her mother to see her pain and to say, I fucked up. Or I'm so sorry I didn't believe you when it happened to you, but I believe you now. It's almost like saying, I need you to just hear my truth and my experience with Uncle Billy. And I need you to see that what this happened to me, and I've been in therapy for years because of it. And you denying my story denies me, and it makes me feel like shit because the most important woman in the planet was you, my mother. Similarly, this is what African American people are trying to say. I don't need your validation to breathe and go on. Haven't I gone on without your validation? But if you fucking keep gaslighting me, I'm going to feel like shit. And I'm telling you that it's hurting me. And it has hurt me. And it only happened 150 years ago. That's 2 generations of people living to 75 years. That means it's still real. And Jim Crow ended in the 60s, for Christ, late 60s. So this concept of guilting African Americans for going through what they're going through, and let's go all the way back to the medical system. What's funny is that the medical system may be racist in some aspects, but you know what? It fucks anyone that doesn't have money. Isn't that funny? On that level, you're playing on equal fields. Isn't that beautiful? How free and equal it is? Because if you're white and poor, you're fucked. If you're black and poor, you're fucked. If you don't have any health insurance, if I broke my arm, knock on wood, today to go to ER, do you realize if I don't have health insurance, I will not have, no one can fix my arm?
Maybe an obstetricianist.
I have to go to a specialist, and if I don't have insurance, they won't see me. So I'll walk around with a broken arm for the rest of my life. I'm not joking. I'm not being funny. There are people right now who are poor who have kids that want to climb trees, and mothers yelling at their kids saying, get off that fucking tree. Why? Well, because the mother knows I can't afford it if you break your leg. I literally can't afford to fucking fix it. I don't have health insurance, and I make too much to get Medi-Cal and Medicare, and I make too little to get health insurance. This is the trap that we have accepted in this country, and constantly being shown Canada as the poster child, the beating poster child of why it doesn't work because of the waiting list. Fuck the waiting list. Go to anywhere in Europe and you'll see that people are getting care for very little money. You were saying.
And that should also be the poster child. Like, a lot of times people will get defensive and basically be like, oh, okay, well, Canada and this and that and everything is bad. Well, that's the thing. As we probably have all known, Canada has been defunding their public healthcare system for a long time and a long while now. When you defund something, I mean, expect it to linger. Expect it to become slower. Expect it to be less of a great system over time. That's just what happens. It's the same thing that even happens within privatized areas. But I would even argue and say that within privatized areas, it's even more so because they have to keep an agenda. And that agenda is their stakeholders. Their agenda is their shareholders. I mean, United Healthcare, they're literally getting sued right now because they actually started approving, because of the death of that CEO, Brian Thompson. They're actually now getting sued by their investors for basically approving people of their health insurance claims.
Did you hear that?
That's what I'm saying. So
no, repeat it. They're getting sued for approving people who are paying for their insurance, and the shareholders are suing the insurance for approving care. Do you get this? Yeah. So as Americans, if you're a spiritualist and you don't think that impacts your ascension, being afraid of not getting care, and you might say, well, I do herbs and this and that. Girl, I love you for doing herbs. I have herbs too. I have a whole fucking garden of medicinal herbs. But guess what? If I get hit by a car, okay, I need care. I need care that my medicinal herbs at that moment can't help me with. And if I don't have health insurance, I am less likely to get care because they know I can't pay. They know I will not pay, most likely not pay. And that shit will go onto my FICO. And here comes like a FICO score makes you a good person. No, a FICO score is you've been lucky. You've been blessed where you didn't have to worry about those moments.
There's that, but also I would have to say a FICO score could also mean you're poor. I've seen people with literally 700, 800. They're poor. They're literally poor. The only reason why they keep their FICO score up is just in case, if anything does happen, they're able to move into a rental situation, or they're able to get approved for something or emergency really quickly. I mean, seriously, there's people that are literally 700, 730s. They're living out of their fucking car. I mean,
yeah, no, and that's the other thing. And what we're looking to ask you is to have this inner dialogue with yourself about what ifs, not to put yourself in the wrong vibrational energy to attract that to you, but to think for the collective, to say, wait, hang on, this can't work. No wonder. Listen, I told this story before, but I knew of a woman, this is like before my son was born, around 1994, I knew a woman who was a paralegal secretary by day. She was a single mother with her son who was about 8 or 9 years old. And by night, she worked 26 hours per week. Do you understand? She was working, 66 to 70 hours per week. That's a lot of hours. I'm sorry. to make sure that she had health insurance, because Starbucks at that time was giving health insurance to people who worked part-time. And so to get the health insurance, that's what she did, which meant what? Well, she didn't have time to tuck in her son. She didn't have time to read him bedtime stories. She could not bond with her son.
No.
And who knows what happened to him? So they had health insurance, but what if there was somebody that was doing whatever to him? What if the fact is that he got addicted to shit because he was exposed to shit he shouldn't have been, allowed to see, because his mother was too busy fucking trying to make ends meet on the most basic rights. The most basic rights is healthcare.
No.
And this is what I'm trying to say here. We need to stop tolerating bullshit. And that's why the 1% are frightened. Why do you think they're fucking building $100 million bunkers?
And privatized communities. Like, I just got an advertisement, and I'm glad I screen recorded it, but an advertisement for like a private community where like rich people can go, and it's like $5,000 and I'm like, okay, this is not for like a regular person. This is for someone who's making like 50 million plus a year. I'm just like,
right.
And it's probably the same people. They're like the health insurance CEOs, the bankers. I mean, let's be real. A lot of the bankers, they were very scared in 2008 because they knew that they stole a lot of people's lives, their childhoods. They knew that because they were taking those houses. Some people, I know it's a little off topic, but they were actually evicting people from the wrong. There were so many evictions in some counties that they were evicting people at the wrong houses. And then because they got evicted, let's just say with the police, they would actually get evicted later because they missed those payments and everything, because of being kicked out of their own property.
My God.
It was insane. It was crazy. 2008 was really insane, but it never went away. None of this stuff has ever went away. And it's just the fact that our government doesn't even declare any of these things a national emergency is just, it's never went away. And it's just the fact that our government doesn't even declare any of these things a national emergency is just, it's abysmal. It's completely abysmal. And it just shows it's two wings of the same bird. That's why I've told people on the Trump side, I've told people on the Kamala side, it's the two sides of the same bird.
And it is. Right now we have, thank God, it's damn near 2 years in the making of this supposed war, which again, in my book, war means that both sides are somewhat equal in weaponry. What a concept. But again, the Geno is continuing, and the forced famine harks back to what happened to the Irish during Queen Victoria's dismal reign. And so what we're looking at is a repeat, wash and repeat, wash and repeat. But the difference between the wash and repeat in the 1600s, 1800s, and today is that we have all the knowledge, and we have the ability with technology and otherwise to form communities to protect ourselves from these ingrates, from these deviant souls that are leaders. And ultimately, that is, I'm just going to say that's what African American communities were doing. They were creating their own communities during the Jim Crow. And what was happening, I'm going to just say, racist white communities were going to attack them, literally destroying their hamlets, their villages, their autonomy. It's like, leave us the fuck alone was the call. And it wasn't enough. So now we've learned from failed blueprints and repeat, oppressions and violence against people who just want to have peace and just fucking thrive. What the fuck is wrong with that? We need to get smarter, and we need to organize and this is why Telegram is your ally. There's a lot of scammers. Yeah, well, fucking just do what I do. I block them. There's no need to have a conversation with someone you don't know on Telegram. Okay, don't be afraid of Telegram. Okay, that in all aspects of our lives in 3D, there's massive dark and there's massive light. Go with the light, block the dark. That's it. And so this is our opportunity. There is a series of book called Ringing the Cedars. I'm ashamed to say I haven't read it, but I have the whole collection. And I think I'm going to start reading from that. It was written by a Russian philosopher, and it has a massive following in Europe, in Russia, in America, in the UK, massive following. It's kind of what it's called Ringing the Cedars. And it's about people who are self-sufficient. They live off the land, and they're creating communities. And maybe this is something that you may want to explore. Telegram has groups called Ringing the Cedars. You can look it up on Telegram. And why is it on Telegram? They're not saying anything crazy. They're not saying anything revolutionary. They're just talking. Just people talking about how to make bread, and also the deeper philosophies of that book, of the series of books. And I think it's something, as I say, this is 222, which is 6. Make a choice. Make a choice about what you want to experience and how you want to experience it. There's a lot really disconnected from reality of what's happening in the world. Absolutely. We're not interested in convincing people that the earth, the planets don't revolve around the earth. We're not here to convince people who are still thinking of old concerns. I'm not looking to convince people who want to prove that the earth is flat. Frankly, at this point, I don't give a shit. I don't have enough time to wonder if the earth is flat or round. I don't give a fuck. There's too much really important shit happening right now. Okay? However, I do want to know what's going on in the Arctic Circle. I do want to know what community and why it's banned. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Why? Well, because it seems to me after, the pyramids of Giza were exposed and we saw what was beneath the Pyramid of Giza, now we have to start asking ourselves, why are there no-fly zones in certain parts of the world? What are they hiding? And with satellites, as we know, and I keep saying that again and again, we know that there are tons and tons of pyramids beneath the ocean in the Atlantic and the Pacific. There's no way they haven't seen that, but they haven't exposed it. Why? Well, because they're probably down there trying to figure out how to harness, energy, power, ways to oppress us. And what is more powerful than anything any human deviant leader can devise to oppress a people? Your soul. Your soul is free. Your soul can go through the eye of a keyhole. Your soul can travel and magnify. Your soul has the power to create universes because you are a fractal of the creator of God. The only thing that prevents you from feeling like you can is your own self lack of worth due to the dogmatic dramatic brainwashing that have happened over your incarnations. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot you can do. But you have to look at the infrastructure and not ignore it. Look at it and go, how do we break this down so other people can understand the problem and how this is going to impact your ascension? I don't care if you're Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist. I don't give a shit what you think, what you follow. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that you are expansive in the foundation of whatever religion you choose. If you choose to follow a religion, that's your business. It's not mine. But at least fucking expand your mind to new information. It could actually make your experience with your religion, your particular religion you're following, much sweeter in the palate, in my opinion. But we have to realize that we don't know as much as we think we know. And that can only, our ability to open up our minds is really something that we have absolute control of. It's in your hand. You have a choice. So anyway, I hope this helped. We can't keep allowing this to continue. Healthcare needs to be something that you are not afraid to demand. Socialized medicine works. Don't tell me it doesn't. I've lived in Europe. I've seen too many Americans go to Europe with cancer, with a broken arm from a car accident, and go and massively shook, going, holy fuck, like I didn't know this was possible. I'll never forget a woman who had breast cancer, and they diagnosed her. Within a week, she was set for surgery. The following week, there was chemo to make sure it wasn't spreading all over her body. And she was in shock. No wait period, no fucking bullshit. No, there needs to be approved, and there's a committee.
I need to call your insurance company.
Yeah, none of that shit. Within 2 weeks, she was on her way, and she went into full fucking remission because they were acting so fast upon the diagnosis that it never metastasized. It never spread through her bones, her blood, and her other organs, which is a classic push-pull shit that they do in this country.
So they can make more money. So that's how they can prescribe more treatments, which don't really actually cure the underlying cause of what started in the beginning. And while at the same time, it's more profit. That's what they do. They make profit off of the deniability when it comes to people's conditions. That's how the health insurance industry
in this country,
in the United States, works.
Now, what's interesting, and believe me, there's most of everything that Trump is doing, I disagree with. But what was a win for us is Pfizer is, if I'm correct, if that's not fake news, and that means don't trust me, go look. But Pfizer is suing the Trump administration. If that's correct,
They are.
then bravo.
They are.
Bravo. Fuck Pfizer, okay?
And more of them.
And good. Because at the end of the day, we can no longer allow them to be sick. In China, their system is thus. Let me explain to you the system in China. In a village, the doctor gets fined if anyone in the village gets sick. This concept of making $250,000 out of the medical, once you're graduating from your medical training, this concept of you're going to make $100,000 or $150,000 and you're going to do 2 or 3 years in ER and you're going to make a shitload of money stacking in your residency, whatever. Yeah, that concept, that is a purely American concept. This is why I'm going to be straight up. This is why you have so many foreign students coming to this country to take on medical training, because here they can live 10 years and probably stash $2 or $3 million and go back to whatever fucking country they came from. And a lot of them do. A lot of them do. Okay, a lot of them go back after 10 years or 15-year stint to get the fuck out of here because of the quality of life. To be honest, okay, that's why you have that happening. In Europe, in parts of Europe, in some training, it's 12 years. 12 fucking years, okay? And when people say the best medical is in America, no, it actually isn't, okay? Because they're using millimeters and micrograms and God knows what. In Europe, it's a different system of...
metrics.
Well, the metric system is much more precise, for one. For plastic surgery, why do you think women are going to Turkey? It's not just because it's cheaper, though it is. It's because it is... The results are better. Believe it or not, they're better. So my point to you is that we need to demand what the whole world has enjoyed. What this country in that part of the Middle East that's decided it's okay to use famine on children. They have free healthcare. Yeah. They have free education. They have free whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. And we have been footing that fucking bill. We have been footing the bill.
For decades.
Meanwhile, the people you love have had to lose their lives because they could not get approval, life-saving approval, to save their life. I'll never forget the LA Times, Los Angeles Times, doing an article in the 90s about a young 34-year-old woman, a mother of two with her husband. She had breast cancer, and they played, and it was an HMO. They played so many fucking games with the paperwork that she eventually lost her life and left 2 children without their mother. And she was just one, literally an example of that reality. Did it change anything? No, because Americans were so fear. Oh, socialized medicine. I don't want to be. I God forbid. And please stop. Stop.
And let me just interject and say this: 75% of the medications. If anybody's viewing this and taking medication, I'm going to say this to you: 75% of medications in the United States of America literally come from public funds. They come from socialized taxpayer-funded money. They literally do. What they do is this. After the experiments have been done, after the clinical trials and approval, because let's be real, it takes 10 to 15, sometimes 20 years to get one drug approved. That's how long it takes because all the ethics and regulations. But that's the thing. When it comes to it, guess what they do? They then sell off the patent for pennies and cents on the dollar. And then Big Pharma comes back and says, okay, originally, for example, this was 10 cents and all this millions and dollars and billions in research that went into it. Okay, so we're going to sell it back to the taxpayer instead of it being 10 cents or $1. Because let's be real, insulin was supposed to be free. It was supposed to be cheap. That was the whole point of it. They bought the patent for pennies and cents from the government, because let's be real, the government has been co-opted by a pharmaceutical lobby and stuff. Right. And then they sell it from 10 cents for $100.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that happens all the time. Only 25% of medicines have been privately funded. And even then, a lot of the times, they get the money from government grants. Literally, it's just...
That was great. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know, that should make you think. And so what happens is the basics of medical concerns become a sword over every American's head. It's a sword. You may be aware of it, you may not be aware of it, but I can tell you this. All of us who have no health insurance, I'm me being one of them, every blue moon will have a knee-jerk moment of going, yeah, I just got to stay healthy. I just got to stay healthy. I can tell you that when my beloved was diagnosed with brain cancer, He went in he went to ER on his own because I was having to deal with our house. We were having problems. So he went to ER on his own. They found a brain lesion. Brain lesion. What does that say when you find a brain lesion? Wouldn't that be a red flag to you? Yeah. Wouldn't any doctor think, hey, something's up? No, but you know what they did? They released him back on the streets. And literally to get an appointment to see a basic practitioner took 2 to 3 weeks. And then being referred to these other specialists, one of them could see him until October. At that point now it was March. You get what the problem is? March. By July 19th, he was dead. Do you see the problem? And you're going to say, well, you know, that's because we don't have a lot of medical practitioners. No, bullshit. It's because, no, that's not it. It's because the kind of insurance he had, he was not made a priority. The age he was not made a priority. There is also not just racism, ageism in the medical system. Ageism. You're more, they don't, you know, you kind of, you no longer matter now. You're no longer a taxpayer. You're more of a
liability.
Right. And so that is listen, this is a truth. This is a reality that people need to understand. And why is this important to understand? Because a society does not take care of its elders and its newborns and its new people and its vulnerable single mothers. A society that does not prioritize that is a barbaric society. We're talking about Attila the Hun type of shit. They didn't care about their newborns and single mothers and elderly either. They didn't have time. They were too busy conquering other fucking countries. So what does that tell you? Yes, we are a barbaric society because we do not prioritize the elderly. We do not honor them. And then in these systems, quite often, they're thuggish, little small-minded people who unfortunately are given the task of caring for our elderly. How many cameras do we have to show of an elderly grandma or grandpa being hit, okay, by a supposed caretaker? I use the word loosely. All of these things are part of the system. People throw away people who are ill in hospice care and things of that nature because they're too busy not fucking hitting the streets. Everyone damn near is a paycheck away or a savings account away, a buffer zone that gives you maybe an extra month or two. If you're super lucky, maybe a year. But after that, it's over. Does that make sense? There are people that literally have been laid off and they do have 1 year of living in their bank account. But then guess what? They're facing the inability to find work because of ageism, because now they're in their 50s and 60s and they're in shock, unable to find work.
Or a blacklist.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the system isn't working. You see what I'm saying? I could go on and on. I could just break down every list. There are kids coming out of university who can't get a job. I remember back in 2007 where I knew guys and gals working at Trader Joe's with 2 masters. I remember talking to one of them and going, I don't understand, 2 masters. Like, couldn't you even, like, I don't know, be a manager in the managing crew, you know? And they were like, no, I just, you know, they won't, they're saying I'm overly qualified, but not overly qualified to stack fucking cans of beans. Okay. So my point to you is the system has been rotten for years, for decades. And so until we kumbaya and lock hands and we get real serious about creating communities, conscious, loving, crop sharing communities. I'm not kidding. But I will tell you this. We will have to deal with bullshit. I'll give you an example. In Seattle, I believe it was in Seattle, Washington. It could have been Oregon. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, in that part of the world, there was a community food garden. You know, cabbage, cauliflowers, tomatoes, basil, the whole bit. And they had been feeding, listen to this, lean in, 400 families, lower income families on food stamps. And that community garden had been feeding 400 families. The city got involved and they were given, they were going to destroy the garden. Why? No one really, there was never a real reason why. But here's what they told the people who were managing the garden, the communal garden. We will give you until January, the new year. I think this was around 2023, by the way. or thereabouts, of 2022. And they said, we will give you until the new year. We will have another meeting, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? On Christmas Eve at around 5:30 in the morning, they came in with tractors and decimated the fucking gardens. 400 families were left without the ability to access fresh vegetables and fruit because of a city planning commission marriage. I'm not even clear. It actually, to me, it doesn't matter why they decided that was a good idea to decimate. I don't care if they wanted to do something else with the land. That land was public property and had been approved to become a community garden. Why remove that license? Why remove the right of self-sufficiency? Why? And this is what we need to never forget when we build our communities. Now, there was a mayor of Nevada City, I'm trying to remember her name, of Nevada City, who said that there is a process when you build a community where you need to incorporate your community. Okay? And when you incorporate it, you come up with some kind of, you can look that up, how to incorporate. Also look up Sasha Stone. You can find him under the Lazarus Initiative, and that'll get you access to Sasha Stone. Get on his website, and they are helping communities get built all over the world. People are flying in from all over the world to learn best practices from him and his team, just on the side note. And he's talking to her, Renee Senum, that's her name, Renee Senum. She was the former mayor of Nevada City, California during COVID lockdown. Okay, so my point is there's a way. And what that means is they can't touch your ass. They can't touch your crops. They can't touch your post office. They can't touch shit. And of course, they'll try to use the law against many of us who build communities. But then there's the decision. And here lies the quandary. The decision is, do you want to remain in America? Do you want to fight the fight? Or do you want to build a community of like-minded folks, expats, Americans, and start buying land in foreign lands and continents? It could be Africa, it could be Asia, and it could be Europe. Could be Russia even. Some people are actually moving to Russia, Americans. It's up to you. But you really need to figure out what speaks to your heart. Your heart will be your compass. Your heart will show you the way if you trust it and you don't try to mechanically calculate the mathematical, logical points of views that your little monkey mind has. Feel it in your heart. That's what's going to tell you where the ley lines are for your body, for you as a human being in this incarnation that you embody today. What is going to be good for you? Could be Norway. I know Norway has an amazing system, an infrastructure, an amazing infrastructure. They have some fucking bruises and bullshit, but if I were to choose, Norway's a hell of a good option. So my point is, there's a lot to think about, and all of it stems from removing that sword over your head. Only the counties in upstate New York are allowed to own livestock. I'm not allowed. And this is why people move to. In fact, upstate New York, there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of bullshit. Don't get me wrong, but there's also a lot of freedom. The bureaucracy is insidious, but you have to be smart. Okay, in your community, you need someone who's either a brilliant mind that just eats up fucking knowledge like cake, or you need yourself an attorney, or you need yourself a paralegal that's brilliant. You need about 3 or 4 wise, brilliant minds. You need about 3 or 4 brilliant, creative thinkers, philosophers. Do you see what I'm saying? You don't just pick people because they've got a nice smile or they make great fucking sourdough bread. You can learn that shit. What you can't learn is wisdom, brilliance, thinking outside the box. You need people that are agile in the way they think, and they're fucking fearless. Okay. They're the people who will actually create laws in the law books, because they'll break old laws that are here to oppress, and they'll set up from winning new laws. There was a woman I knew who was an advocate for the older population, the geriatric population, and she simply took the bar exam. I'm not kidding. She never went to law school. She just passed the fucking bar exam. And she became an attorney. One of the things I do love about upstate New York is that you can gather your own rainwater. And I know in California you cannot. And I'm laughing because we know what happened with the Pacific Palisades fucking debacle. There are two men that saved their lives, their homes. You know what they did? They turned on the fucking sprinklers and left. Evacuate. They just turned on the fucking sprinklers. That was it. What we did when we had the Great Fire of 1970, I think it was 1978 or 1979. I'm trying to remember. I lived in Pacific Palisades. You know what we did? All of us. We turned on the fucking hose because we had water, and we just sopped our roofs. We just literally watered the fuck out of the walls and the roofs, and then we evacuated. And guess what? Our homes survived. So my point is, what happened in Pacific Palisades with, you know, this idiot governor was by design, because he's rubbing his hands together, getting all excited about his 15-minute cities. So there's all kinds of weird agendas, because they want to create a community for people, by the way. It's called 15-minute cities. So either you create your community or they'll create it for you. It's really up to you.
But also the insurance lobby. I mean, there's like coercion and plus now suspicion that the insurance lobbies, when it comes to weather manipulation or either when it comes to, you know, fires per se, that these insurance companies will either hike up their prices right before a fire or wildfire begins, or either basically just deny a person coverage or even kick them off of that coverage plan, literally.
Yeah. And that's what happened, actually. A lot of that happened. So, you know, really, Telegram, I have communities there. You want to join mine? We talk a lot about spirituality and shit like that, but I might actually open a new group of mindful community. I might call it that, simply that. And you're welcome to join that. If you're interested, just let me know. You'll find, I have a link right on my link tree. You can go and you'll see my esoteric book club. We're meeting this next week. You'll find Starseeds Awakening. You know, join one of them. Just introduce yourself. Let me know you're there. And if you want me to start a mindful community group, I'll be happy to do it, because we got to do something. We can't keep just fucking kicking rocks and talking and doing lives about, oh, we need a community. Well, okay, you know, we need to roll up our sleeves and do it. Right now, we're planting a crop, my son and I. And some of it, the seeds are shit, by the way, some of the seeds, and it's the seeds, because some of the other seeds are doing well. So it's also mindfully collecting heirloom seeds that are robust. And I remember in the 80s watching a PBS special on people my age today, right? They were my age. Now that I'm that age, I was in my 20s then, talking about how they were mailing heirloom seeds, rare corn, potatoes, tomatoes, everything you can think of. And they were collecting the seeds like a library of seeds and sending them out to different people so that it was, you know, honored. And the new generation, I'm Gen Xers, man. Some of you guys are, you know, you weren't fucking thinking. Because if you came across a whole Rolodex box or like a bread box of seeds, how many were thrown away? Because I've yet to come across a Gen Xer saying, you know, my Auntie Melba or my mother had these. I've yet to come up, and I consume a lot of TikTok, a lot of YouTube. I consume and I create, and I've yet to see anyone say, I found a box of seeds, there were notes, because they took copious notes. I've yet to see that happen. So my heart breaks, because I know out there, many of these boxes were thrown away in the trash. Precious seeds collected probably 100 years in the 80s. So we need to take responsibility in trying to find these people and the seeds and start recollecting, cataloging and explaining about these seeds. And I'm not seeing a lot of integrity. And you might say, well, go to Etsy. I've gone to Etsy. I've bought seeds on Etsy, and they're shit. Some of the seeds are shit. And they lie. You can't see. We need to find those who really are the gardeners, the caretakers of Pachamama, Gaia, Bhumi, planet Earth. And we need to find them. And I don't think so we need to call it out, you know, to start asking who knows who that has seeds. And the problem, and this is another problem that's very, very concerning to me, is that, I don't know if you know this, but you're not allowed to share seeds across the world. I'm not allowed to get seeds from the UK. I'm not allowed to get seeds from France. And neither are they allowed to get my seeds. So that means that the collection of seeds and the cataloging of seeds has to be absolutely in your own country. Because it's controlled to be that. Now, it irritates the fuck out of me because I can tell you that if in France, they are a pain in the ass. I know, I can say that, I'm half French. They are a pain in the ass. If they say that seed is non-GMO organic, trust me. If they say it's heirloom and it comes from a particular tomato from 200, 300, 400 years ago, trust me, you're not allowed to lie about it. They will put you, they'll throw you against the wall. So what bothers me is that these seeds are for real viable seeds. And there are other countries that have various intense laws. Something I just found out, for example, in the UK, is you're not allowed to grow Japanese knotweed, resveratrol. And Japanese knotweed is massive in Vermont, New York, Massachusetts. Why is it important? Because it's resveratrol. It's what you get for your skincare. It's an antioxidant. It actually, crosses the blood-brain barrier. It is actually one of the massive protocols that Stephen Buhner, a famous herbalist, talks about in his Lyme disease prevention or healing protocol. Japanese knotweed. In the UK, you're not allowed. In fact, you're not allowed to grow it. And if they see it on your property, they will fucking fine you. Don't you find that interesting? I do. Something that it actually can heal you. The leaves you can eat in salads. Anyway, so I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you, Baron, for sharing your wisdom. And I will upload this. Please share it. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's not just talk about community. Let's build one. All of us. Okay? Sending you much love on your journey. Now.